Hello, my name is Michael Conneely, and this video is all about the eclipse of the 28th of October 2023. The eclipse offers us the opportunity of new pathway, becoming less critical and more visionary. The lunar eclipse of October the 28th is an absolutely huge energy pile-up, and it's on the brink of major fated demand for change that we absolutely do need to understand and do, because the nodes change sign 2 days later on October the 30th. Now, eclipses are like earthquakes. If there's tension and pressure building up in the Earth's crust, eventually everything breaks there and there's an earthquake. So think for a moment. Do you know what area of your life is at the breaking point of needed change now? Do you know where a new journey forward must begin for you now? Do you know in what way must your beliefs change now and in the months ahead? This is such a needed time to do some work and bring to light any hidden unconscious denial patterns. Do a journey to seek revelations on these topics. Now, you can check out the life area meaning of the houses in your birth chart that are Aries Libra, the axis of this eclipse, by going to my Star Wheel Astrology More drop down, and then within that interpretation, and then you can click on how to interpret nakshatras, signs, retrogrades, eclipses and planet energies. But before I go into the detail of the eclipse, I want to say that it'll be particularly huge and important for you if you have planets in your birth chart in the Libra Aries axis, and indeed the Virgo Pisces axis, where the nodes move 2 days later on October the 30th. But also Aquarius Leo and Capricorn Cancer are also major affected. So get a reading from me if you have your natal nodes of the moon in one of those especially activated signs, Libra, Aries, Virgo, Pisces. So get a reading from me and I'll give you one of my super insightful readings, drawing on both your Vedic and also your Western astrology, and so ready to flip over to like needed visionary or healing work that might be helpful. So here's the overall summary, and then after that I go into a bit more sort of detail about degrees and dates, that sort of thing. But here are the 6 key energy demands that we'll be swimming in at the time of this eclipse. Energy demand 1, to do with Ketu, the south node of the moon. Ketu moves from Libra to Virgo 2 days later after this eclipse. So it's the big time to ask, how have you handled Ketu south nodes, cutting demand as Ketu transited through Libra, for more spiritual understanding in the Libra theme of relationship? How have you handled that cutting demand? In fact, it was the upcoming Ketu's transit through Libra that led me to set up our new international dating site for those on a spiritual pathway, Love Star Dating. But now, each of us needs to build on progress we made during Ketu's transit through Libra and add to it the key needs of Ketu's transit through Virgo. And they are about healing, becoming more the healer, and also about dealing with the overcritical nature that is Virgo. Are you becoming more the healer from now? More the intuitive healer? Do you feel ready to change and grow, to fuller embrace the healer energy of Virgo? Are you ready to become more spiritual in the way you deal with the critical nature of Virgo, which Ketu enters in 2 days? Now, this eclipse moon is actually in Ashwini Nakshatra in Aries, and Ashwini Nakshatra is all about healing. So this doubles it. You're being called on to be alert to what healing you need now and must embark on. Also, because the nodes are changing sign, we're each being told to make a proper completion of the imperatives of the Libra-Aries axis. And in this section, Energy Demand 1, I'm focusing on Ketu, the South Node. And because it's Ketu, it's so important to realise that our ancestral issues and our past life issues need to be gone into, need to have huge awareness brought to them, need to have healing, both our past life issues that are bringing karma into this life, and also our ancestral issues, because if they aren't healed, all sorts of mischief surrounds you. So we're each being told to map a needed new pathway forward. Now, this eclipse opens the door. And ancestral and past life work may well be a key healing and empowerment issue for you. And because the nodes are entering new territory, each of us needs new healing methods and solutions. It's no good going in with our fixed methods and patterns and conceptual structures. We each of us need to let go where needed. Don't control. Be open to spread your wings, because that's what this is about. Really importantly, Ketu, the South Node, at the time of this eclipse is actually conjunct the wonderful fixed star Spica that is actually the 0 point and anchor of the Vedic sidereal zodiac. And Spica is the star energy of identifying your talents and then, as a karmic duty, polishing them and polishing them and polishing them ever brighter so they shine more and more. That is the energy of Spica, where Ketu is conjunct. And here's another major aspect in the eclipse chart. There's Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Aries, opposition, Ketu South Node, Sun, Mars conjunct Mercury, hope there won't be arguments, in Libra. So Jupiter conjunct Uranus is the energy of revolution. Be open to that. You know, we must perhaps do vision work, tarot work, or whatever, to see where we need a revolution. We must be prepared to cut deep, push blocks aside, make room for new things at the time of this eclipse. And let's be aware that Ketu always produces fears. Anxiety and fear is part of the energy of Ketu. It has a divine purpose if only we can see it. So we must take action to manage or cure our fears. And that could well be through some sort of vision work or ritual. Incidentally, chamomile calms anxiety, but get the real thing from a herbalist or a health food shop, because the tea bag herbs aren't good enough, they don't work. So remember, Ketu in Virgo has a healing focus. Connect to this. And then looking opposite, we come to energy demand 2, Rahu, North Node in Pisces. Now Rahu in Pisces can be intuitive and visionary, connect to that. And of course, on the day of the eclipse, Rahu is actually in the Gandanta zone, in the 1st degree of Aries, going to transit over on the 30th of October into Pisces. Gandanta zones are zones of immateriality. The closer your planet in your birth chart is to the 0 point, the very end of Pisces in the case of this Gandanta zone, or the very beginning of Aries, well then, your planet will be in a zone of immateriality, where this world is not felt to be real, where it certainly isn't supportive. And, of course, there's a divine opportunity we can grow towards in having a planet in the Gandanta zone, in our birth chart, or transiting now as Rahu is. And that is seeing beyond this world to the divine meaning and purpose. And Buddhism calls that nirvana. Hinduism has gods connecting us to that, like Lord Shiva dancing things into destruction and then new life, like Lord Vishnu lying back in ecstasy, dreaming new universes into being, and then absorbing them as they become less pure and emanating another universe. The Gandanta zones also are the playing of Lord Krishna's flute. But it's not just about that, because Rahu has for many months been transiting through Aries towards this Gandanta zone, and so also takes stock of to what extent you have absorbed or not Aryan warrior power. And actually, know this, that the sun of this eclipse is in Swati Nakshatra in Libra, and Swati is ruled by Rahu. So the question now that you need to look at is, are you ready to embrace what Rahu is heading into now, which is Pisces, which at its highest is about better intuitions and vision work, shamanic healing, that type of thing. Are you ready to develop your sensitivity and intuition? Now, from October the 30th, with Rahu in Pisces and Ketu opposite in Virgo, some of us will be called to some degree or other to become an intuitive healer, or to further develop our intuitive healer talents, our existing intuitive healer abilities, insights, methods. Do you really know what visionary approach and method is for you? This eclipse calls you to find out. An amazing detail is that Rahu of this eclipse is exactly conjunct asteroid Eris, the air energy of strife. You see, Rahu in Aries has been pushing us for months to face our fears and grow our courage. Eris conjunct Rahu as it is now in this eclipse means find your needed fighting force. And as I said, the eclipse is in Ashwini Nakshatra, and Ashwini is a new start. And Rahu always brings growth and expansion, although we have to be careful to avoid its darker dimensions of over-ambition and billowing illusions. So Rahu, especially when it's in the Gandanta, demands that we find and possibly express something hidden, including the hidden you, the fuller you. Do you need to do that? Do you know what characteristics the fuller you would be and have? So let's go on to energy demand 3, Saturn. Now Saturn is stationary and super strong at 6 Aquarius. It goes forward on November the 4th. And retrograde Saturn's supreme demand is that we tie up loose ends in the physical world and in the management of our spiritual and energetic body. Are you finishing up key unfinished business in your life? Do you know what unfinished business there is that Saturn will be pressuring you to tie up, complete? And fascinatingly, note that Lilith is opposition Saturn in this eclipse, dealing with Saturn's karmic demands. And the process of having to tie up the knots and loose ends now will also involve identifying and finding and expressing key material and key parts of you that were buried in your unconscious, buried in your shadow side earlier on in your life. And this must include making a better connection with your buried wild side at this time of Lilith opposite Saturn. For that is part of Lilith's nature, and we each need to know what parts of us were denied and stuffed down and considered too wild, so that we can get in touch with them, express them fully, obviously in an ethical and aware way, and become the vibrant fullness of us rather than the automaton where wonderful parts of us were denied. See, Lilith opposition Saturn, well, the key thing to look for in this aspect and to heal is where there was suppression of you. Suppression which caused repression for key parts of your personality. Suppression of key talents for expressing yourself. So do get a reading from me to include the key point of Lilith in your Western and your Vedic birth charts. All my astrology readings combine Western astrology and Vedic astrology. Each of them is lacking unless you do that combination. Energy demand 4, Pluto. Okay, Pluto is at 3 Vedic Aquarius, square the nodal axis. Have you been acknowledging the need for you over recent, well, couple of years or more, to come more fully into your proper power? Maybe you've needed to do a journey to the abyss to discover and bring to the light that's what is buried in your unconscious and your shadow side. Because until we do, we cannot be properly in our power, because we're sort of like in denial, like an automaton, not the fullness of ourselves. We often, I think, have to do journeys to the abyss of different sorts. And I do that online. You can book that with me, to stand in the fullness of our power and potential for this life. And actually this eclipse with Pluto square the nodal axis